Hello viewers, you are welcome to the channel. So here is a tutorial on how I made this beautiful baby dress with 3 layers of crinoline. Kindly watch to the end, and if this is impacting, give me a thumbs up at the end, and also subscribe if you've not subscribed. Thank you, and let's go right into the video. So I made use of 4 yards of two nets, 1 yard of sequin material, doll face material, and a crinoline. This is 1 pack of crinoline, but I will not be exhausting all. I'll be using only 15 yards of it. So firstly, we are starting with the drafting of the upper bodice. I have 1 inch up and by the side, and also on the down part. I'll be cutting both the front and the back together. So the first thing I did was to take half of my shoulder measurement and came down half an inch for the shoulder slope, and the neck width I took was 2 inches. So I came down by 4 inches, which is half of the round armhole from that shoulder slope, and I'm taking it straight to get the chest line. All my measurements are starting after that 1 inch zipper allowance I marked towards me. So on that chest line, I will take quarter of my chest measurement, which is 5.5 plus 1 inch seam allowance, and I'll take exactly what I have on that chest to the waistline, because the child's waist measurement and chest measurement are of the same measurement. So I'll join the lines. So go ahead and connect your armhole line which you marked earlier, and on that line I'll divide it into two and come in by half an inch for the front. I'll go ahead and join the back, then the front. So I'll add my half an inch joining allowance to the shoulder part, and I will go ahead and mark my neckline for the front. At the end of the day, this neckline will not be useful, but I'll just be marking it so that it will not get confused. So 2 inches neckline. So for the back neckline, I'll be taking 5 inches for the back neckline. So I'll go ahead and cut that out. I'll cut through the back pattern first before cutting through the front. On that back part, you can come up by half an inch for the zip. You can decide to leave it, it's optional. So after cutting it, I'll remove my front part and join the 5 inches to the neck width. I'll be making it a v-neck line, and I'll cut that out. So this will be in 2 places, and I'll label it my back pattern. So let's work on the front. At that waist point, because this is a child and I don't want the chest area to be too exposed, I don't want the opening to be too big, I'll be taking quarter inch on the waist part, and on the chest line I'll be taking half an inch. So after sewing, that half an inch will be 1 inch and the quarter inch will be 0.5 inch. So I'll join the quarter inch to the 0.5 inch with a straight ruler, and connect that 0.5 inch to the neck width. I'm just positioning my ruler to get a nice curve. So I've gotten the curve and I'll connect it. Make sure that place is not pointy. So for the neckline I'll be using 2.5. At the end of the day, you find out that that 2 inches we marked earlier wasn't really necessary. So I'll be marking 2 inches or 2.5. So I think I marked 2 inches. Now you can come down as well. So I'll cut this out, and the front pattern is ready as well. So remember to cut your front armhole deeper. So I'll go ahead and trim off the neckline. So this middle part will now be my yoke. And I'll label this as where the front pattern. So this is how it will look like after cutting. The only thing I am to do is to add half an, while cutting on my fabric, I will add half an inch to that line and half an inch to this as well. Then for that yoke, I will add half an inch on both sides and half an inch on the upper side. You can add 0.25 if that's the allowance you are using to sew. So I'll go ahead and cut my front and my back pattern. So for my skirt part, I'll be having 4 layers. The first layer will be the shorter layer, which will be the sequin material. So and I'll be cutting full circle for that. The first thing to do is to take the waist measurement, but I'll be multiplying that waist measurement by 2. The waist measurement I'm working with is 22 inches. 22 inches times 2 will give us 44 inches. Then we'll add 2 inches for our zip allowance, 1 inch on both sides. And that will give us 46 inches. So since I'm cutting full circle, I'll be dividing it by 6.28, not 3.14. 3.14 is for half circle. So this will give me 7.3 inches. So I'll just round it up to 7 inches. This will be this waist radius that I'll be using to cut my circle. So in cutting my circle, I'll fold my fabric into 4. I have 4 layers. This is the open side and this is the closed side. So I'll be taking my measurement from that closed angle. So remember we are cutting using 7 inches as the waist radius. And the length I am working with, the length for the first layer is 9 inches. The second layer is 11 inches. The third is 13 and the fourth is 15. So just 2 inches difference. So I'll take that 7-inch round. I'll go ahead and join my dots. That is not visible enough because of the color of the chalk I'm using and that of the fabric. So I'll take the length of the first layer, which is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that across and connect the lines. So I've marked them and connected the lines, and I'll cut through the 2 lines. So after cutting, this is what it looks like. And I'll bring my crinoline and sew on the edges. After sewing on the edges, I'll flip it and top stitch on it. So for my net, I folded the 4 yards like this, and the second layer is 11 inches, the third is 13 inches, and the fourth is 15 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark a straight line to get an even edge. So I'll go ahead and take my longest length, which is 15 inches. I'll take the measurement 15 inches and mark it across. I'll mark the second one as well, but that one will be shorter by 2 inches. That will be 13 inches. And the third one will be 11 inches. So that's my first layer, the longest layer rather, and 13 inches. The last one will be 11 inches, and I'll go ahead and cut them out. So I have 13 inches, 15 inches, and 11 inches. So I have another layer of 11 inches. This will be under the three layers. So I will attach crinoline on the three layers, but not on the fourth layer, which is the 11 inches. As you can see, it's shorter than the rest. For my upper part, which I've cut out on my fabric, I'm trying to stabilize the sequin material, which is stretching. So I'm taping it down with hemming gum. I cut this on the sequin material and on the doll face material as well. So after arranging my hemming gum on the sequin, I'll bring in my doll face and place it. The right side is facing down. So the right side of the doll face material will be facing the wrong side of the sequin material. I'll arrange it and go ahead and iron it down. So I cut out two linings for the doll face. That is, one will be used to stabilize the sequin material to prevent it from stretching, and the other will be used as the lining. So I'll spray water on it and give it a good press. I'll go ahead and trim off the excesses I have at that part. At this point, it doesn't stretch again. It is now stable, unlike the one that is not lined. Look at how stretchy this one is. So I'll go ahead and do it to the rest of the front part, both the front and the back. So after lining them, I'll bring in my yoke, which is the net. I cut it into two and I top stitched and flip it over at the neck point, and also I joined it at the side to have one piece. The neck place is already top stitched. So I'm using my pattern to mark out where it will stop, and I'll pin it down to one side. I'll take it from the down to that point where it will stop, and I'll pin it all through on both sides, and I'll sew it. So after sewing, I will notch. You can top stitch as well. Top stitch it to the lining. The way I sewed it to the fabric is the way I'm sewing it to the lining. So I've pressed it down and I'll get ready for my back part, right side facing each other, and I'll sew on the neckline. I'll stop at my zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead to my sewing machine and sew it up now. This is my back with the lining and the front as well. So right now I'll go ahead and join the shoulders. So I'll place them right side on each other and bring one lining of the front and flip it over to the front to cover the rest of them, and I'll pin down. Make sure they are aligning very well. So you join them like so. Make sure the seam line are joining as well. Join them like so. You flip over one of the linings to cover the rest. You are sandwiching the rest into the lining. And I'll take to my sewing machine after pinning them to sew. So I've joined my shoulders, and I'll go ahead and join my side part. I'll face the sequin to the sequin, then the lining to the lining. You notice I did not close my armhole because I'll be joining a sleeve to it. So I'll go ahead and pin all of that down and go and sew them. So I'll take to my sewing machine. I left 1 inch seam allowance while I was drafting it, so I'll stitch with that 1 inch seam allowance. You can retake your measurement if you want, but since I lined mine, it doesn't stretch more than what I cut out, so 1 inch will be okay. So for my net, the skirt part, I'll take it like so. This is one of the layers, and I'll bring my crinoline and tape the edges. I'll sew on it like this, and I'll flip it over and top stitch on it. So I'll do the same to the rest of the two. So these are the layers after attaching crinoline on them. After attaching the crinoline, I iron them down so that it lays flat. This is one of the layers, the second layer, and the third layer. So each one of the layers is longer by 2 inches. So I'll go ahead and gather them at the top, and I also gather the one that will not be having the crinoline on it. So for the lining, I'll just be cutting a half circle. The normal way we'll cut a half circle. I'll fold it into two, then into a triangular form, and I'll divide my waist measurements by 3.14 this time around because it's a half circle, and I'll mark it across. So I'm taking my waist radius, 22 inches divided by 3.14. So this layer of doll face I'm cutting now will be under the 3 layers of net that has crinoline and the one that does not have crinoline as well. So this will stabilize the net. So I'm taking the full length of the skirt parts. So I'll mark that across and connect them. Then after that, I'll cut it out. So after gathering all the nets, I join it to the doll face that I cut. All the things I gather from the sequin to the 3 layers of net that has the crinoline, and to the last layer of net that does not have the crinoline. So I join all of them to the doll face. Mind you, the way I cut the doll face is the way I'll be cutting the lining as well. So to join the front parts, I'll take the middle of the doll face and the middle of the front part, and I'll join them together only on the lining. The technique that I'll be using to join this, I will have a link of the video on this video, the way I joined it, because as you can see that front part is already joined together. So if you want to have two pieces at the back for you to join the attach the zip beautifully, you have to stop at the seam line by the side. So I have a video on how I achieved this on one of my tutorials, so I will link that up. It will be in the comment section. So I will pin and stop at the side, at this side, and I'll continue pinning with the front alone. I will repeat the same to the other side, and also while joining the lining I will repeat the same. I'll join the lining exactly the way I joined this front part. So this is how it looks after joining all the parts. I went ahead to attach a sleeve, a 3/4 sleeve to it. Thank you for watching. If you've watched up to this point, remember to subscribe and to like this video, share it to your family and friends. Until I see you in my next video, keep living good. Thank you and bye.